Yo, welcome into the show. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Senior. So glad that all of you are hanging out here with us. Coming up on the show, top players to watch as the Philadelphia Eagles kick off preseason play tonight against the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore. And it's been a little while since we've been able to look at a graphic like this. Birds on the road taking on the Ravens, and Philadelphia expected to be one of the Super Bowl contenders in the NFC. The Ravens expected to be one of the Super Bowl contenders in the AFC. So both teams not expected to play their starters or a lot of their premier players, but they are both deep. So we're going to see some quality football players taking the field at M&T Bank Stadium. Philadelphia 1-point favorites in this game, and the over-under. This is classic preseason right here. Only 34 because, of course, we're not going to see teams revealing plays and schemes and systems, but a lot of premier players are not going to be playing and not a lot of points are going to be scored. A reminder, programming alert. Myself, producer Chip, we will be live for this preseason Week 1 matchup between Philadelphia and Baltimore. I imagine a lot of Eagles fans are going to take the trip down I-95 if you can. This will be the best place to experience game day outside of being at the actual game. Live play-by-play, audience interaction. We'll react to the game as it transpires. And we're looking out for some really good players to have some good performances, a lot of position battles to keep tabs on as well. Our pregame show starts an hour before kickoff, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 3:30 p.m. Pacific, and then the game gets underway at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. So my top 10 players to watch in preseason game 1 against Baltimore. Let's begin with Quinyon Mitchell, the 22nd overall pick for the Philadelphia Eagles out of Toledo at the cornerback spot. Philadelphia drafting a corner for the first time in the first round since 2002 when Lito Shepherd was drafted by Joe Banner and Andy Reid out of Florida. So for us, this is our first opportunity to see Quinyon Mitchell live in game action for an NFL game. So far up to this point, he's had a pretty good training camp, some really good one-on-one reps, especially against A.J. Brown. In the spring, he told A.J. Brown he ran a trash route. In the summer, he told Devontae Smith he ran a trash route. At times, Quinyon Mitchell's been able to mix in with the first-team defense, mostly out of the slot. But in this preseason game, he's going to play on the outside. I want to see how he holds up, if the speed translates, if the physicality and ball skills translate as well. If he can make a big play, we're going to celebrate that here on Eagles Now. Player number 2 to watch is Grant Calcaterra, the backup tight end behind Dallas Goedert. And when you look at this Eagles tight end depth chart going into training camp, there were some questions as to who would nab this role behind Goedert, who's one of the top all-around tight ends in the NFL. And up to this point, it's been Calcaterra, followed by C.J. Uzomah, and then Albert Okwuegbunam might be on the outside looking in of making this 53-man roster. And Calcaterra has certainly earned the backup tight end role. He's athletic, long as a pass catcher, really smooth strider when he catches the ball in the open field, and he should get an extended look against a Ravens team that always has a very good defense. Player to watch number 3. Jeremiah Trotter Jr., the son of the Axeman. His pops, legendary Eagle in the early 2000s under legendary defensive coordinator Jim Johnson, multi-time All-Pro and Pro Bowler. And for Trotter, he was not a good pre-draft tester. He's not huge. He's not twitchy. He's not fast. I didn't really care about that, especially at the linebacker spot, because what Trotter is helps him make up for what he lacks as an athlete. He's smart. He's hard-nosed. He's an instinctual player who plays off feel. He can read and diagnose plays before they happen. And surprisingly, he's got some first-team off-ball linebacker snaps, and the linebacker role really wide open up to this point behind Devin White, although Zach Bond seems to have the inside track at the other starting linebacking role. But the depth pieces, Jeremiah Trotter Jr. could earn some snaps there, and of course, with this Eagles special teams unit. Johnny Wilson is a fascinating player, and I can't wait to see him play on Friday night against the Baltimore Ravens. When you evaluate him, fascinating size at 6'6", 230 plus. He's the tallest wide receiver in the NFL. During training camp, he's still dropped some passes, but he's impressed this coaching staff enough where he's got some first-team reps. Can the size and the physicality translate to game action? Had a lack of touchdowns last year at Florida State. Yes, he was the number 2 behind Keon Coleman, but at that size, he should have dominated. But at moments, he was a sloppy route runner, and he's played smaller than his size. But the other day, he went up, climbed the ladder to go up and get it on a ball from Jalen Hurts, a really impressive play. I want to continue to see his emergence because at that wide receiver 3 position, you have the tall player in Johnny Wilson. You have the speedsters in Paris Campbell and John Ross. You have that possession shifty type of wide receiver in Britton Covey. And right now, that position's really intriguing. Nolan Smith checking in at number 5. The 30th overall pick from the draft 2 years ago out of Georgia. Didn't really play a lot last year as a rookie. During the preseason, he injured his shoulder against the Cleveland Browns. I thought that slow-tracked his development a little bit. And you could talk about all this chatter about Nolan Smith gaining weight and progressing and improving. I want to see it. He is a quick-twitched stud athlete from that edge rusher spot with a ton of ability. And if he can have a breakout year, this Eagles pass rush can notch it up and take it to another level. So which player are you most excited to watch in the preseason? That's 5 players right there. We have 5 more to get to. Be sure to drop me a name down below in the comment section. If you want to go to this game, Eagles, Ravens in Baltimore, make sure you download the Game Time app. If you want to go to a sporting event, another Eagles game, a Phillies game, Sixers game, Flyers game, you want to go to a concert, a comedy show, or a theater event, you can find all of those tickets, on the Game Time app. If you're looking for last-minute deals, Game Time has you covered. You can save up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets for all of those events. I love their flash deals because you can save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or event. There are also zone deals where you can save even more when you choose a section and you let Game Time choose the seats. Another great feature is that you can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. We flip it to this page, for instance. You can see the view at Lincoln Financial Field from your seats and the price point here. Or if you are particular about where you like to sit at a stadium, how about the bird's eye view, the stadium view, where you can look down on Lincoln Financial Field and say, you know what, I want to sit behind the end zone, get that all-22 look to see how plays develop. Boom, I can find those tickets. Phillies tickets available for very affordable prices as well. So download the app. Be sure to make an account. Use the code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download the Game Time app. Last-minute tickets. Lowest price guaranteed. Our next wave of players to watch against Baltimore. Let's talk quarterbacks here. Don't expect Jalen Hurts to play in this game. If he does, it's going to be limited. I love what Andy Reid does. He's going to play his starters for a couple of series potentially. Philadelphia, not going to take that approach, I don't think, even though their practices have gone longer and have been more physical. But anyway, Kenny Pickett. Been a mixed bag for Pickett during training camp. Can he flush a rocky Steelers stint? Now, with an awful offensive coordinator in Matt Canada, a lackluster and vanilla offensive scheme, not a lot of offensive weapons, Kenny Pickett was done no favors by the staff with the Steelers. That's part of the reason why he kind of wanted out. The arm strength, a little bit of an issue. Touchdown to interception ratio, also a little bit of an issue. 13-13 for touchdowns, interceptions thrown. He's in a much better position with a much better organization, much better offense with the Philadelphia Eagles now. And can he claim that QB2 role? If he soars and plays well, he will be the backup behind Jalen Hurts. If he flounders and Tanner McKee plays well, let's go to Tanner McKee. I think Tanner McKee could be the backup quarterback for Philadelphia behind Jalen Hurts this year. Last year in the preseason, I was very impressed with how the Stanford product played. You want to talk about bad offensive schemes? He played in an awful one under David Shaw at Stanford. And last year in the preseason, we saw him throwing balls out to the numbers with touch, timing, anticipation, accuracy. He's a tall quarterback who is an underrated maneuverer in the pocket because I like his pocket feel. Can he continue his development from year 1 to year 2? And can he unseat Kenny Pickett as his team's backup quarterback? It's a sneaky good training camp battle here because I think Pickett and McKee are jockeying right now to be this team's QB2. Jalyx Hunt coming in at, what is this? Number 8. He used to be a safety playing Ivy League football. And then he went to Houston Christian. He became an edge rusher. Vic Fangio loved him in the pre-draft process. Daniel Jeremiah loved him in the pre-draft process. And he was a top 100 player on Daniel Jeremiah's big board. And Philadelphia took a chance on him in the 3rd round of the draft. I thought it was a little bit early. But he is a quick-twitched athlete who has good bend, burst, and speed coming off the edge. How long is it going to take him to get used to the NFL level, considering there was a position switch and he's a little bit raw as a player? I want to see the glimpses of what he can become here in the preseason. We don't know much about him, and we're going to find out more in preseason game number 1, hopefully. I'm going to put a veteran on this list, James Bradberry, solely because on the Eagles' unofficial depth chart, which they put out on their website in the lead up to this preseason opener, James Bradberry is not listed as a corner. James Bradberry is listed as a 2nd-string safety. And will the Eagles play him a lot to get used to a new position? That's a big storyline in this game against Baltimore. And then lastly, running back Will Shipley. Saquon Barkley should not play in the preseason. He doesn't need to. If he does play, limited workload. We know who Kenny Gainwell is as a player. For Will Shipley at Clemson, highly touted prospect when Dabo Sweeney brought him in to the Clemson Tigers. He's kind of a poor man's Christian McCaffrey. I don't just say that because he's a white dude. I say that because of his versatility. He can run a little bit in between the tackles with some wiggle. He has some speed to get out to the outside. He has some pass-catching ability. He has to get better as a pass blocker. But this versatile type of chess piece weapon, I want to see what he can do in the preseason here. And I expect him to get a lot of snaps in addition to guys like Kendall Milton and Ty Davis-Price who are fighting for roster spots potentially. So we round out with this. Who you got? PHI for the Eagles, BAL for the Ravens. It's good to pose this question because we have an actual game to talk about. We'll see you in a few hours right here on Eagles Now for our preseason week 1 watch party. Can't wait for it.